Shalom everyone. Hey, we're gonna react to a video here. Not really react, but this is a video of a young lady that has been molested by a pastor and her so-called godfather. Let me just play the video and then we can talk afterwards.
My story is being molested by a pastor who was formerly my goddad. He prayed strictly only about me. He only talked about what I was going through. I was just crying like so hard. Somebody is finally understanding me. I remember one day where I was talking to him on the phone and he began to say, when you get a husband, you make sure that you cover him and you make sure that you fulfill all his needs. But he says, are you a virgin? And I said, yes, I am a virgin. That conversation led to him inviting me over. I remember going into the room that I was sleeping on. I sat down and I remember him coming back down in basketball shorts and I remember him forcing himself on me to perform oral sex. After that, after he was done, I remember going upstairs and I remember just crying. And I remember him coming into the room and he was naked from head to toe and he told me to get up. He stood up, he laid a towel on the bed and he proceeded to rape me. He had put something on me and it was blue. But I remember just crying and telling him, get off of me, stop. And he finally stopped and he just walked out of the room. I remember going into the bathroom and getting in the shower, just standing there, bawling my eyes out, just crying full of tears. I had went back in the room and he went back in his room and closed the door. I stayed in the room all day. And then it was time for me to go home and the car ride was so silent I don't even remember saying anything to anyone. After I got back home, I was completely different. I was more angrier than ever. My attitude was just skyrocketed. It was just horrible. I didn't know what happened to me. I didn't really see him until there was an occasion where my mom ended up, I don't know if it was an altercation between her and my grandmother, but we ended up leaving. We slept in a car in Upland, California until my mom found the police. And then eventually they ended up saying that I could go live with them. That was the most terrifying time of my life. I felt that it was normal. I never knew what a dad was supposed to be. It wasn't always just me being molested. There were times where they would buy me stuff for my birthday. They got me my first cake. I never had a cake for my birthday. I never had gifts for my birthday. So that was the first time that I actually experienced that. I remember there was one time me and him were having a conversation on the phone and he had said something inappropriate and she got super mad and she said, who are you talking to? He said, I'm talking to Destiny. And she grabs the phone. She's like, oh, hi, Destiny. And then I'm like, oh, she must know what's going on. If she heard him say that, then she must know what's going on and what's transpiring underneath her nose. I never said anything and I never thought to tell her after that. And then I ended up going back with my mom just to visit and we were still in the car. And I remember going in there to charge my phone. And when I went to go charge my phone, I came back out and my mom said, well, your godmom, she texted me and said her job is done and that you had to get your stuff and you had to leave. So I was confused. I'm like, what happened and what does she mean her job is done? So I called my godfather and I told him what my mom stated and what the message had stated. He said, I didn't hear anything about that and she's right here with me. Let me talk to her and I'll call you back. He called me back. He said that she never said that. And I asked my mom to see the message, but she said she deleted it. But my sister said she's seen it as well. So it was kind of hard to believe it because here I am with people that I'm always battling with, always in arguments with, always going back and forth with, and they're telling me something that I didn't want to hear. I ended up going back and I got my stuff. I remember telling him that I didn't want to do this anymore and I felt that it was wrong because I was becoming of age. I believe I was about 14 or 15 years old and I ended up telling him that this was wrong. And I remember he pulled out a gun to me and he was mimicking him shooting me in my head. And he told me that if I left him, this is what would happen. So after that, I never said anything else again. I never said anything else again. And as I started my new school, my high school in Upland, when I went to church and when he had prayed for me, I was 12 years old. The abuse didn't start till I was 13 and that's when I first went to their house, was around about my birthday. So the abuse didn't start till I was 13 and it continued on till I was almost 16 years old. He would go to Bible study and then he would drop me back off at home, but before he would drop me back off at home, he would abuse me and then drop me back off at home. And I got to a point where I was like, okay, I don't want to go anymore. So I remember I used to lie and I used to tell him, my mom said I can't go with you. And he would get mad. He would call my mom and ask her, why can't I go? And then my mom would say, no, she can go. I never said that. Eventually, I feel as if my mom began to catch on because she eventually started saying no, that I could not go. And then I stopped going. And then I got my first job. It was at John's Incredible Pizza. I remember he would pop up at my job and he would try to tell me to come out of my job so he could molest me outside of my job. And then I remember one time after he had got done molesting me, he ended up laughing and telling me a story about how by this older lady, and he laughed and laughed about it, and he said how his mom knew and the people in his family knew, but no one did anything. He said that it was multiple women that had molested him when he was about 6 to 5 years old, 5 or 6 years old. I ended up telling my mom one day I was at home and I was arguing with my sister. My sister ended up saying how I was fast and how I'm probably having sex with like people at school, and I ended up yelling out. I said, "Mom, I'm being molested and no one is seeing me." And my mom was like, "Destiny, I have neighbors. You need to be quiet." And my little brother jumps in. He's like, "Mom, do you not just hear what she said? She said that this was going on with her." And she was like, "Destiny, I have neighbors. You need to be quiet." And I remember saying, "I'm leaving and I'm never coming back." So I grabbed all my stuff, everything that I could grab in my hands, and I ended up leaving. And as I walked out, I called one of the girls that I had made friends with at school, and I ended up telling her what happened, but I didn't tell her who the person was. I just told her what I was going through, and she said I can stay there. We went down to the court office, and I ended up sitting down with this lady, and she ended up telling me what's going on, like what's happening with you. And I ended up telling her what happened. She said, "You have to tell your mom." And with my eyes bawling out, with the lady's eyes bawling out, she called my mom back in there, and she said she has something to tell you. And I remember sitting there, and I told my mom, I said, "Mom, I'm being molested." And then she just broke down into tears. She said, "By that man?" And I said, "Yes, by the man." And then she was like, "Thank you for telling me." And I was kind of in a confused state because it's like, "Mom, I did tell you. I told you there. You didn't ask any questions about it." So it kind of had me in a confused state. In my head, I'm like, "I already told you." Maybe I didn't say it clear enough, but then I thought about it. My brother did say, "Mom, like you're not listening to her." So it's like, it was kind of had me like in a confused state with, are you doing this just because the lady is here, or is this like it didn't register to you when we were at home? So my mom, I remember leaving there, and my mom caught an Uber. We caught an Uber back home, back to my mom's house. And when we got there, I remember her walking up and down the street, and she had called my aunt, and she was telling her what happened, and she was like, "What should I do? What should I do?" And she said, "You need to handle this the right way. You need to like go forth with pressing charges." And then my mom was like, "Okay." So my mom took me down to the police station, and we filed a report and passed it. They told me I can come back, and they told me to, do I have any proof? Is there anything? And I said, everything is on his laptop. I told him, I said, I remember of him uploading everything to his laptop. Everything's on there. The laptop were videos that he would film of me. He would take out his phone and he would record me. And I remember one particular time he had broken his phone, and when he had broken his phone, he wanted to have all his photos, all his videos. So we had went to a Starbucks, and he helped him upload everything to his computer. They ended up going to his home. When they went to his home, they looked for the laptop that I described, and they got it. I even told them about the guns that he had, what color they were, and they seen everything. They ended up taking him to jail. When they took him to jail, he ended up saying that he was not guilty of the charges. They ended up letting him go, and when they finally got into the laptop, I remember them telling him, like, "We have this evidence on you, so it'll be like best to just admit to the crime." So he eventually said that he was guilty. They ended up pressing charges, and I didn't have to speak at the court hearing. I didn't have to say anything. They did give me the option to speak, but I declined it. But he's now facing 15 years in prison. He's still currently in prison. Me and my family, I ended up having 2 girls. We moved out to Las Vegas, and we are excelling. I'm now 20 years old. I have my own family, and I can say I'm fully healed now. And I just wanted to share my story to let other individuals know that they are not alone. And there's other survivors out there.
From the Unfiltered Story. Now, guys, there's so much things we can talk about here. So much things we can talk about in this video. But I'm gonna just leave a few of my thoughts here. You can leave your thoughts in the comment section as well. But first of all, these parents trust this pastor so much because this pastor wanna be this young lady's godfather, and they trust him so much to leave their daughter in his hands, having their young daughter in the hands of a grown man in a different house, because he is her godfather. People don't trust people all because they say that they're pastors and preachers and so forth. You don't trust them because of that, and putting your children's life or your child's life in their hands and you don't know what's going on with them at home. This pastor, so-called pastor, is a criminal, a molester, and he is no pastor. He has guns at his house. He's molesting this child and recording it. This is a pedophile, a sick, nasty pedophile calling himself a pastor. And I always wonder these things. There are some things I always wonder. How come these people do all this evil and still have the guts to stand up in the pulpit and talk about God? How come these people have the guts to do these levels of evil to innocent lives and still have the guts to go on the pulpit and scream and shout and talk about God and talk about how they feel the presence of God in the house? Huh? How comes they have the guts to do these things? These people don't fear God. These people are wicked people. Trust no man. There's so many things that she talk about. I never wanted to pause the video. I just wanted the video to just play right through so you guys can hear everything that she's saying without me pausing and reacting and pausing and reacting and pausing and reacting. I just wanted you guys to hear the story right through with no interruptions. But there's so many things that she said. But all I can say is that, one, trust no man. The Bible itself says it in I think Jeremiah chapter 15 verse 5. If I'm getting that right. It says, curse is the one that put their trust in man and make flesh their strength. You don't trust no one, no matter which quote-unquote position that they're holding. You don't trust anyone. And this man is no servant of God, is no pastor, is an agent of the devil, destroying the life, almost destroy the life of a young lady. And I'm grateful that she came out so excelling, having her own family, and coming out being a living testimony, being a strength. She's strong, and I commend her for that strength. But people don't know the danger of molestation. Molestation is dangerous. It causes a whole heap of mental, emotional, and spiritual things. And these things are happening by people who say that they are preachers and pastors. Huh? Continuing anxiety is a result of molestation and abuse. Poor health is a result. People who say a sense of hopelessness is a result of that. Depression. People go through mood swings because of these things. Sleep disturbances because of molestation. You know, people go through constant flashbacks because of these things. People go through disassociation because of these things. Panic attacks. People start to have phobias. These things can lead to even relationship difficulties in relationship. They can't even keep a good relationship all because of what they have been through. Huh? People go through the isolation, withdrawal syndrome because of these things. People go through paranoid. They're paranoid. Molestation and rape and these sexual abuse in general, caused people to behave not like humans anymore. I'm glad that he went to jail, that he paid, and I pray that I wish he actually got more, because he was doing this thing for years with this young lady. And the mother also was so blind, deliberately blind, or probably she's bewitched by this pastor, because many of these pastors are working with different powers too. But that's a whole different story. A whole different story. People trust nobody because they call themselves a minister, because they call themselves a prophet, because they call themselves whatever they call themselves. They could call themselves the most powerful man of God. You don't trust them with your child. Don't trust them with even your own self either. You trust only God. Anyway, for all those who are here, just ensure that you share these videos out. Pound that like button to help with the algorithm. And you can always leave your thoughts in the comment section. Until next video, peace.